Everyone, a very warm welcome on behalf of Parul University. I welcome you all in today's webinar. Today, we are going to talk about research and research method, especially by our very beloved and highly honored Professor Dr. Satish Prakash Shukla sir is here with us today. He is Director, Center for Research from Indian Institute of Teacher Education, Gandhinagar, which is a prestigious institute in itself. Sir was a professor of Gujarat University Department of Education. He has catered to the needs of thousands and thousands students who are pursuing their masters and PhD in the field of education. So we are grateful enough for your presence here, sir, and thank you so much for being here today with all of us and gracing the event. So over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, and good afternoon to everybody who are participating in this webinar. Today we have to discuss about research and research methods. Uh, Let us start with the meaning of research. Actually, in most of the books, it is written research means means again and again. Research means to find out, to search out something. But it is not like that. The word research, uh, origin of the word research is two French words, and those words were used in France in 16th century. That is, first one is re, and second one is searchier. Where re means expressing extensive force, and searchier means to search or to find, not of to find, or to find. Then searchier became search, and then ultimately it has become search. In this way, the word research was originated. Now, let us see the definition of the same. We know that research is a process. See, in the definition also, it is clearly mentioned that the research is a process in which the systematic and planned attempt is made by applying objective and scientific procedure to find the solution of a problem or a question through which a new knowledge is generated or developed, or new theory, principle, or rule is established. In definition also, it is not said that we are searching again and again. Anything is found by scientific process, that is research. So we have to take care while defining the meaning of research that it is not searching again and again. It means the expressing extensive force to find out something new in terms of the knowledge, or in terms of the solution of any problem. By doing so, either we add something in our existing knowledge, or we uh, develop any theory, principle, or rule with the help of research. So this is the meaning of research. Now we come to the research methods of research. Different types of methods of research are there, but when we refer different books, then the categorization of research methods are given in different ways, uh, because in different fields, uh, research method is applied in different ways. But by referring all types of the categories which are given by different scholars and given by different researchers, a general category can be given for general categories for types of research methods can be given. We will see it, but before that, first of all, we try to understand what is research method. Research method is a part of research. Research is a scientific process that we have seen in definition. Then what is research method? The activities which are carried out to complete the process of research, the set of activities which are carried out to complete the uh, process of research, that is research method. Let us see the meaning of the same. Research method is a design that shows the ways of performing all activities, right from the stage of formulating the hypothesis of forming the research questions. So research method starts after selection of the research problem. That is the important thing in terms of the research method. It starts after selection of the research problem and after deciding the objectives of the research. It starts with formulation of hypothesis, or in some cases we can't formulate the hypothesis. Hypothesis cannot be tested in all the researches. So sometimes if hypothesis cannot be formed, then researcher forms research question. So research method starts with formulating the hypothesis or forming the research question till the stage of data analysis. Whichever activities are done during these two points, the set of all such activities is called research method or research design. In other words, layout. It is also known as a layout describing the steps of performing activities. Why to perform activity? To realize the objectives of research is called research method. Again, I am reading this definition. Research method is a design that shows the ways of performing all activities right from the stage of formulating the hypothesis or forming the research questions till the stage of data analysis. In other words, a layout describing the steps of performing activities to realize the objectives of research is called research method. So, research method becomes a part of a research. The entire research process, the research method is a part of entire research process, and starts with the formulation of hypothesis or forming the question, research question, and ends with the analysis of the data. Now, on the basis of this definition, if we want to categorize the types of research method, then it can be categorized in this way. Again, I remind you all that in different books, in different fields, in different faculties, types of research method are categorized in different ways. Again, I am saying by analyzing the categories given in different fields, in different books, or by different authors or by different researchers, by analyzing all such type of the categories, we can categorize the research methods in three main categories. Number one, that is historical research method, descriptive research method. Number two, experimental research method. And number three, historical research method. These three are the main research methods. These three methods accommodate all kinds of research methods. If you want to accommodate all kinds of research methods, those all kind of research methods can be categorized out of any of these three categories. Descriptive research method, it has also different categories, like number one, survey research method. Number two, content analysis method. Number three, interrelational research method. Number four, ethnographic research method. And number five, developmental research method. These five are the main categories, subcategories of the descriptive research method. What does descriptive research? Descriptive research describes the present situation, current situation in terms of the research problem, or we can say that the research problem is based on the current situation, or to find out the prevailing situation in terms of different variables, or in terms of research question, or in terms of the hypothesis. That is descriptive research method. These five are the types of descriptive research method. We will discuss about all the types. Now we see interrelational research method, developmental research method has also two types. One is longitudinal and another one is cross-sectional. These two are the subtypes of developmental research method. And in the same way, interrelational research method has also three types. Number one, case study. Number two, correlational research method. Number three, causal comparative research method. So these are the basic types of research methods. Descriptive research method, again I am saying that It is a research method in which the current situation, prevailing situation is studied, and some decisions regarding the prevailing situation is taken. But here, the impact of something, some treatment on some other thing is not checked out in descriptive research method. To know the impact of some treatment on some variable, we have to follow experimental research method. And in that term, we can say what is experiment. Experiment is what? Uh, Experiment is an observation of some factor on some other factor in a controlled situation. That is experiment. Observation of some factor or some variable or some treatment on some other factor or variable, it is called experiment. The factor, effect of which is to be checked, that is called independent variable. And the factor on which, the variable on which the impact of independent variable is to be checked is called dependent variable. So in experimental research, always controlled situation is created, and in controlled situation, the independent variable is manipulated, and its impact on dependent variable is checked out. Then historical research method, that studies the past events. Past events is called historical research method, the method that is applied to study the past events. History, we know what is history. History is the carefully and chronologically recording of the past events, remarkable past events that has made some impact on human life or on our nature. Such type of the events are recorded in the history and in chronological order and meaningfully and carefully. Such events are recorded in history, and to study the such past events in terms of it, to know its impact and the reasons of those events, any kind of the research is done, that is called historical research, and for that historical research method is applied. Now we'll see all the methods one by one. First one is descriptive research method. As I have said, descriptive research method describes, clarifies, analyzes, and interprets present situation, current trends, attitudes, and opinions of the people, existent difference, and interrelationship in relation to a person, institute, structure, object, place, event, and processes. In short, we can say that descriptive research describes, clarifies, and interprets current situation. If you want to say in other words, then we can say in a descriptive research inquires what exists at present. And as we have seen earlier, that different types of research, descriptive research method are there. First of all, we have seen that survey research method is there. What is survey research method? It is a typical descriptive method. It is a typical descriptive method through which current, metaphoric, behavioral, mental, or physical situation or phenomenon is described, analyzed, or interpreted. The situation may be personal, sociological, psychological, political, educational, institutional, natural, man-made, or may be related to some physical or typical matter. Again, survey research method is such a typical descriptive method through which current, metaphoric, behavioral, mental, or physical situation or phenomenon is described, analyzed, or interpreted. The situation may be personal, sociological, psychological, political, educational, institutional, natural, man-made, or may be related to some physical or typical matter. That is survey research method. The main objective of survey research method is to study that these are the main objectives of survey research, to study what exists at present. That is the first objective of the survey research method. In survey research method, generally we take the opinions of the people, or we try to understand their beliefs, their opinions, their attitude, or we try to know their particular attribute or characteristics, and for that different tools are used. So the first objective of the survey research method is to study what exists at present. Second objective is to compare present situation with established norms and standards. This is the main motto of another main motto of survey research method, to compare present situation in terms of the attribute or in terms of the problem or the situation or condition, to compare the present situation with established norms, whether the present situation is according to the established norms or not. It is at the lower level of the established norm, or it is equal to the established norm. So to compare present situation with established norms and standards, that is second objective of survey research method. And third one, to give suggestions, to improve the current situation. That these three are the main objectives of the survey research method. Now, the people who are belonging to field of education or psychology, they must remember that whenever you compare, you try to find out the difference, and if you try to find out the significant difference in terms of the attribute of the characteristics on the basis of independent variable, different levels of independent variables, then it is not a survey. It will be either experimental research or causal comparative research. But generally, we write only the survey research methods. Even if we are writing survey research method and we declare that there is significant difference. When we say that there is significant difference, then it means we are saying that there is cause and effect relationship between independent and dependent variable. In survey research method, it is not an objective of that particular research method. Again, I am saying the three main objectives of the survey research method are to study what exists at present, to compare present situation with established norms and standards, and to give suggestions to improve the present situation. This is the and different tools are used to know the opinions or the beliefs or the attitude or the aptitude of the subjects of the study. But we have to remember that in survey research, we should not find out the significant difference in terms of dependent variable on the basis of different levels of independent variable. Now, second one, descriptive research method is, as it is seen on the screen, content analysis method. Content analysis method is used. It is used to analyze communication material. Content analysis is used to analyze the communication material. Analyzing the content of communication in order to study it scientifically. Again, analyzing the content of communication means analyzing the communication material, the content of that particular communication material. Analyzing the content of communication in order to study it scientifically is called content analysis. In that sense, the content is analyzed logically, deeply, systematically, and in an objective and scientific way, in order to clarify its intention and meaning to describe it. That is content analysis. Again, analyzing the content of communication in order to study it scientifically is called content analysis. The content is analyzed logically, deeply, systematically, and in an objective and scientific way in order to clarify its intention and meaning or to describe it. That is content analysis. And in terms of content analysis, different sources are used. Content or communication material can be found in different sources. Which are those sources? Let us understand it. Number one, verbal printed material can be the communication material, verbal printed material. Number two, verbal written material can be the communication material. Verbal oral material can be the content communication material. Then visual material, then audio visual material. These all are the communication material which are analyzed through content analysis by applying content analysis method. Some of the examples of all kind of the sources we should know, which are verbal printed material: newspapers, books, periodicals, story, brochure, government documents, novel, circular, notification, court judgment, agenda, resolution, biography, autobiography, article, etc. are the verbal printed material. And verbal written material, letter, diary, personal calendar, answer of open-ended question or annual account, these all are the verbal written material. Verbal oral material, lecture, speech, radio program, radio news, audio CD, debate, song, argument done in court, oral instruction, interview, preaching, these all are the verbal oral material. These all can be analyzed. Visual material, we know that drawings, paintings, diagrams, sketch, photographs, slides, silent movie, signal, artistic material, statue, sculpture, stone inscription, body language, etc. are the visual material that can be analyzed to come to the conclusion in terms of the deriving the meaning of such all the sources or all the material, content material, communication material. Then audiovisual material, we know it is cinema, television program, television news, drama, role play, etc. are the audiovisual material. If any of this communication material is to be analyzed, then we have to apply content analysis method, whether it is analyzed in the field of education or psychology, in science, everywhere it can be used. Wherever documentary, we have to analyze the documents, then content analysis method is used. Then after that, descriptive research method, the developmental research method is there. What does developmental research method? The research method in which the characteristic of individuals or the attribute of individuals, all living being, is analyzed. But in what sense? Such characteristics, such attribute, which may change with the passage of time. In other words, we can say the attribute or the characteristics on which the time factor can influence. The attribute or characteristic that is affected by time factor. With the passage of the time, if the change is found naturally in living being or in human being, in terms of their particular attribute or characteristic, then we have to use developmental research method. And in developmental research method, two types of the research method are there. One is longitudinal and another one is cross-sectional. Before knowing about that, again, we try to understand the real meaning of developmental research in proper words. The developmental research intends, The developmental research intends to study the progressive changes that occur in an organism with passage of time. Again, the developmental research intends to study the progressive changes that occur in an organism, living being, human being, with passage of time. It studies deeply about such changes which are found in characteristics, traits, and physics of an individual or an organism in the context of time period. The important thing is developmental research method is applied only in the context of the time period. When we want to know the impact of time period, different time period, impact of the passage of the time on a particular attribute or the characteristic, then we have to use developmental research method. It helps in understanding a pattern of development. That is more important, that developmental research is carried out to know or to understand or to describe the pattern of development in the context of certain characteristics of subject in terms of the passage of time. And as we have discussed earlier, there are two types of developmental research method are there. Again, we have to remember here that the impact of time factor of on some particular attribute or trait or the characteristic of human being or the living being or an organism is studied in developmental research, and developmental research tries to describe the progressive change, the pattern of progressive change that is found in living being or in organism in terms of a certain attribute or characteristics or any trait. Now we see cross-sectional research method. Two types of research methods of developmental research methods are there. Two types are there. One is cross-sectional research method, and another is longitudinal research method. In both the cases, the impact of time factor is only studied. What is cross-sectional research method? We know that some characteristic, we know it, some characteristic of individuals and living being changes. Some characteristic of individual and living being changes with the passage of time, that we know, like our height, our body, and our emotional maturity, our emotions, our liking, disliking change with the passage of time. We know it. So some characteristic of individual and living being changes with the passage of time. Some natural, social, mental, physical, or environmental factors are responsible. Why it is changed? Some natural, social, mental, physical, or environmental factors are responsible for such changes. By keeping in mind these two things, the developmental cross-sectional research method is applied to know the pattern of such changes, This cross-sectional research method is used and for that, in cross-sectional method, we have to take care of the selection of the subjects in cross-sectional developmental research method. In this method, in cross-sectional developmental research method, subjects of different age groups are studied in the same time period. Again, we have to remember that by developmental research method, we want to know the progressive change. It can be done in two ways. Number one is cross-sectional. In this method, the subjects means the individuals or living beings are selected from different age groups. Some are selected from a particular age group, some are selected from another particular age group, some are selected from another particular age groups. Then in cross-sectional, the subjects of different age groups are selected and studied in the same time period in the context of the change in particular characteristics. That is the important thing in terms of cross-sectional. Let us see the example. Suppose I want to know the emotional maturity of the students of standard 1 to 12. I want to study the emotional maturity of the students of standard 1 to 12. Then, by studying their emotional maturity, I can describe the pattern of change in emotional maturity in relation to the students of standard 1 to 12. For this particular purpose, in cross-sectional developmental research method, what I will do, I will select some students from standard 1, some from standard 2, some from standard 3, some from standard 4, and in this way, from all the classes from standard 1 to 12, I will select some students and I will study their emotional maturity. Then I can come to the conclusion that the emotional maturity of the students of standard 1 is at this level, and that is of the students of standard 12 is at this level. And how emotional maturity differs from standard to standard can be studied in this way, and the pattern of change in emotional maturity can be described in this way. So this is called cross-sectional method, in which the subjects of different age groups are selected at the same time period and they are studied at the same time period, and the progressive change in terms of the characteristic in our example, it is that characteristic is emotional maturity. In terms of the characteristic, the progressive change that is found in human being or living organism is studied. Then second one is longitudinal research method. Longitudinal developmental research method, in which the subjects of different age groups are not selected in the same time period and they are not studied in the same time period. Let us understand first that example. With the help of that example, we try to understand the longitudinal research method. That example that I have given, I want to study the emotional maturity, pattern of emotional maturity or pattern of the change in the emotional maturity of the students of standard 1 to 12. There I have selected the students of different classes at the same time period and I have studied. But in place of that thing, I can do this way, that I will select some students from standard 1 only in 2021. Then I study their emotional maturity. Then in 2022, then when they will come in standard 2, again I will collect the data in terms of their emotional maturity, and I will check whether any difference is found or the progress is found or not. Again, when they will come in third standard, then again I will collect data from them in terms of emotional maturity, and again I will check whether any improvement is seen or any change is seen or not. In this way, from standard 1 to standard 12, I will collect the data from the same subjects which are selected at once only once. When they are studying in standard 1, they are selected until the time they reach the standard 12 in 12 years. Every year I will collect the data from the same subjects, and in this way the progressive change in terms of the emotional maturity I will study, and I will describe the progressive change in terms of emotional maturity of the students of standard 1 to 12. This is longitudinal research method. So we can say if subjects of particular age group if subjects of particular age group are selected once and they all are studied at different time period, again, if subjects of a particular age group are selected once and they all are studied at different time period to understand the pattern of changes that occur in their certain trait, it is called longitudinal research method. If subjects of a particular age group are selected once and though they all are studied at different time period to understand the pattern of changes that occur in their certain trait or characteristic or attribute, it is called longitudinal research method. So, in terms of the selection of the subjects, longitudinal and cross-sectional research method differs with each other. Then comes interrelational research. Interrelational research method. Interrelation among what? So, interrelation between or among two or more variables. In interrelational research method, the impact of one or more variables is studied. Impact of one or more variables on dependent variable is studied. Relation among the variables. It is a typical descriptive type of research method which studies cause and effect relationship between variables. Interrelational research method always studies the cause and effect relationship between variables. Which variables? So in that, one variable will be independent variable and one variable will be dependent variable. So it is a typical descriptive research which studies existing cause and effect relationship between variables. It tends to find out the factors. Responsible to existence or magnitude of particular variable characteristic on the basis of prevailing situation. The prevailing situation of a particular characteristic is studied, but not only that, but the impact of some variable on that particular variable is studied. And after the study of the impact of one variable on another variable, at the end, either cause and effect relationship is established or cause and effect relationship is denied. But actually, in this type of the research method, the cause and effect relationship is to be established by the researcher between independent and dependent variables. It does not check the effect of any treatment. Remember, it differs from experimental research method. In experimental research method, the researcher checks the impact of independent variable on dependent variable, but in controlled situation. That is an experiment. Their controlled situation is created. Here also, the cause and effect relationship is established. In experiment also, cause and effect relationship is established. But in experiment, the control situation is created deliberately, and in interrelational research method, the prevailing situation is only studied in terms of to know the impact of some factor on dependent variable. It does not tend to make any change in variable characteristic, but tends to find out the cause of some events in given situation. Why do some person is behaving like this? If I am studying that thing, why this particular person is behaving like this? What are the reasons? Then what I have to do? I have to find some factors that affect the behavior of that particular person. So In this way, in interrelational research method, the cause of some events in given situation is to be found out. And there are three types of interrelational research method. Number one, correlational research method, then case study research method, then causal comparative research method. Correlational research method, causal comparative research method, and case study. Causal comparative research method is also known as ex post facto design. Ex post facto design, EX. Ex post facto design. It is considered as the alternative of experimental research method in humanities, social science, education, and psychology. Humanities, social science, education, and psychology, it is considered as an alternative of experimental research method where the experimental research method cannot be applied. And if we want to know the cause and effect relationship between two variables, then we have to apply causal comparative research method. It is also known as ex post facto research design, EX, ex post facto research design. Now, let us understand all these three types of interrelational research method. Number one is correlational research method. What is correlation? And the correlation can be defined in this way that if there is cause and effect relationship between two variables, if there is cause and effect relationship between two variables and values of both the variables change simultaneously, then such two variables are said to be correlated. Cause and effect relationship must be there. If it is established, if cause and effect relationship is established by either experimental research method or by causal comparative method, after the establishment of cause and effect relationship between two variables, the correlational study can be done. Again, what is correlation? The correlation is if there is cause and effect relationship between two variables and values of both the variables change simultaneously, then such two variables are known as correlated. And correlational study is done to know, the strength and direction of correlation, direction of relationship. Again, correlational study is done to know the strength and the direction of relationship between two correlated variables. In two correlated variables, one will always be independent variable and another one be dependent variable. Let us take an example, and there is cause and effect relationship between such two variables. Let us take a simple example. There is cause and effect relationship between the rainfall and the production of crop. Rainfall and production of crop. We know that if the rainfall increases, the production of crop will also increases up to certain limit. After that particular limit, if rainfall increases, then production of crop will decrease. In both the cases, the rainfall affects the production of crop. So there is cause and effect relationship between such two variables. That is here rainfall and production of crop, where rainfall is a cause and production of crop is a effect. So there is cause and effect relationship between rainfall and production of crop. In terms of social sciences or the education or psychology, we can give the example in terms of the human beings that if age increases, height will increase up to certain age. If age increases, height will also increase up to certain age. So there is cause and effect relationship between age and height. In the same way, as height increases, the weight of the person will also increase. So in this sense, the cause and effect relationship is there between height and weight, where height acts as cause and weight is the effect. So if any kind of such cause and effect relationship is established, then correlational study is done to know the strength of the cause and effect relationship, uh, and to know the direction of cause and effect relationship. Two types of the relationship are there in terms of the correlation. Two types of the relationship are there, and those two are the linear correlation and no linear correlation. What does linear correlation mean? The correlation that can be if established or presented with the help of straight line. If the relationship between two variables can be expressed through a with the help of straight line, then it is called linear relationship. If the relationship between two variables, cause and effect relationship between two variables cannot be expressed through a straight line, then it is called non-linear relationship. And the strength of correlation is described with the help of strength and direction of the correlation is described with the help of correlation coefficient. And coefficient is a number that shows the strength and direction of uh, the relationship between two variables in terms of cause and effect. And the correlation coefficient is symbolized by R. Small r is the symbol of correlation coefficient, and the range of R is between -1 and +1. If negative correlation is there, then the R will be between -1 and 0. If positive correlation is there, then the value of R will be between 0 and 1, including 1. And rapidly we see the types of the correlation, and mainly two types of correlation are there, and those two are positive correlation and negative correlation. What does positive correlation mean? The correlation. Positive correlation can be defined in this way. 1 minute. It can be defined in this way. If there is causal effect relationship between two variables and values of both the variables change simultaneously in the same direction, then there is positive correlation between such two variables. Like as the height increases, the weight will also increase. The direction of change in height and weight is the same. Height is also increasing, weight is also increasing, so there is positive correlation. If and then negative correlation. If there is cause and effect relationship between two variables and values of both the variables change simultaneously in opposite direction, then there is always negative correlation between such two variables. Like as our expense increases, then our savings decrease. As the expense increases, savings will decrease. So change will be there simultaneously, and cause and effect is there between expense and savings. We know that if we increase our expense and our income remains constant, then the savings will decrease, the change will be there, cause and effect relationship is there, but the change is in different direction. So this type of the study is done by correlational research method, and for that R is found, R is correlation coefficient. Now we come to the next method, that is causal comparative research method. Causal comparative research method, as I was said that it is an alternative of experimental research method in humanities, social sciences, and where the experiment cannot be conducted to establish the cause and effect relationship, then causal comparative research method is used. And uh, at least two variables will be there in this sense. One is independent variable and another one is dependent variable. The example that we have taken to know the progressive change of emotional maturity of the students from standard 1 to 12, if in that study I tried to find out the difference between the emotional maturity of the difference between emotional maturity of the students of standard 10 or 12. Listen to me carefully that I want to study I want to study to know the difference prevailing between the students of standard 10 and 12 in terms of emotional maturity, then it will be causal comparative research method. See, suppose in this study, if I have collected data and analyzed data and I have found that the emotional maturity of the students, suppose emotional maturity of the students of standard 12 is better than that of the students of standard 10. Suppose this type of the finding is there, it is derived after the study, then I will declare that there is significant difference between, suppose it is found, then I will declare that there is significant difference between the students of standard 10 and 12 in terms of their emotional maturity. By saying so, what do I say? What do I want to establish? I want to establish that there is the impact of standard 10 and 12, impact of standard. And there is impact of standard on emotional maturity of the students. So here, emotional maturity will be our dependent variable and standard 10 and 12, that will be our independent variable. If this type of the result is found or the findings are derived, that I have said that difference is there, it means what? What I am declaring? I am declaring that there is cause and effect relationship between standard and emotional maturity of the students. The ultimate interpretation of this particular finding is that there is cause and effect relationship between standard and emotional maturity of the students. It means I am establishing cause and effect relationship between standard and emotional maturity of the students. As the standard changes, the emotional maturity of students also changes. Now it is almost 2:25 and madam has instructed me to complete it before 2:30, so I am concluding here. Some thing remains without discussion, so let us see, again we'll meet and
No,
this.
thank you so much, sir. Whatever you have shared is really a framework to write a research. So yeah, and I have been your student throughout my life, and I know you since years. So I know that how much important it is for our generation to know about research, and I know your hold upon the subject. So yes, we are very fortunate and grateful enough that you have taken time out of your busy schedule and shared this. And yeah, in future we would definitely like to have one session of yours on statistical tools, research that we use in research. So thank you so much, sir, for being here with all of us, and thank you for all this wonderful information and everything. And especially when we talk about the types of research, so you have talked about all sort of research in such a detail that now I can surely assure that whosoever is new in this field of research would be able to at least understand what are the different types of research and what are the actual areas in that they want to get into. So they will be able to finalize that what type of research they want to perform in this field, whether it is descriptive or cross sectional or experimental or historical. So yeah, thank you so much for that. And the way you talked about this longitude and cross sectional analysis of the research type, yes, it is really worthy of understanding. And ethnographical research also you talk about. So yes, everything, that each and every single word of yours was actually gold for us. And I hope that we, like, our learners will learn a lot of great things out of it and would contribute in the field of research and innovation. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your gracious presence, sir.
Thank you.
We are highly obliged.
Bye.
Thank you
Goodbye.
so much. Goodbye, sir. Have a nice day. Take care. Thank you.